What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Zoe, and today I'm bringing you my April wrap-up. I read a fair amount of books in April. I read 12 books total, and I really enjoyed the majority of them. So I'm just gonna share with you guys what I read and some of my thoughts on the books. The first book that I read in the month of April was actually a manga, and I read the second volume in the Promised Neverland series by Kaiju Shira. I'm really enjoying this series. It is a little bit darker than I was expecting it to be. However, I'm really enjoying it. It's essentially about these orphans in this orphanage, and there's some crazy stuff going on. I don't want to give too much away because spoilers, but crazy kind of dark stuff going on, and essentially they need to escape from the orphanage. It's a crazy adventure. It's whirlwind pace. It keeps me flipping the pages consistently. I'm really liking this series, and I need to pick up volume 3 very soon. I gave this manga a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in the month of April, I can't find. I don't know where I put it. I put it somewhere in my house. It's not on my bookshelf. I don't know where I put it. But I did read Saga Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan, and it was fantastic. It is definitely an adult graphic novel, and it's kind of set in like spacey, space times, future. It's about a husband and wife who are kind of on opposite sides of the space war that's happening, and they are like on the run for their lives. She just had a baby, and they are trying to protect their little family, and it's just a really cool story so far. A really great start to what I believe is going to be an awesome story. So I'm really excited to continue this one as well. The next book that I read in the month of April was You by Carolyn Kempnes. Oh my goodness, you guys. This was crazy. I was just in the mood for a crazy thriller, psychological, murder, craziness, and this was the perfect thing to read for that. This was totally scary and just completely gripping the entire time. I really enjoyed it. So essentially, it's a book about a man who is completely obsessed with this girl that comes in his bookstore one day, and it's told from his perspective. So he is completely obsessed with her, in love with her, and ends up like manipulating her to basically fall in love with him. And it's crazy, it's creepy. What I found most interesting is that there were times where the thoughts that he was thinking started to make sense to me, and I was like agreeing with him, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, this guy is crazy. Of course I don't agree with him. Like, he's insane. So I feel like any book that can just get in the mind of such a unique character is so special, and it was very fantastic. And I think Lifetime or HBO, one of the two, is actually coming out with like a TV series based on the book, and I am really excited to watch it. The guy from Gossip Girl, Dan, he's like the main guy character. I'm stoked. I can't wait to watch that. This was really good. Overall, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was on the completely opposite side of the spectrum. It was super adorable and completely innocent, and that was A Little Something Different by Sandy Hall. Very cute, very unique. I feel like I should have read it during Valentine's Day. It was just like complete sweetness overload. This is a book about 2 kids in college who are basically falling in love with each other. However, the story is not told from their perspective at any point, but it is told from the perspective of 14 different point of views. Some of these point of views include a bench, yes, a park bench. Another point of view is a squirrel, a Starbucks barista, their English teacher, their friends, their siblings. So many point of views, and none of them are their own. So that was a really unique feature of this book, and what really drew me to wanting to read it. It was definitely an easy read. I didn't love the story. I didn't love the characters. I got actually kind of annoyed at some points with the characters, just because they seemed like sometimes they just seemed kind of whiny to me, and I don't know. It was a good book. It was a fun book. It wasn't the most amazing piece of literature I've ever read, but it was fun. I definitely recommend, if you're looking for something super light, pick this up. It was a great read. However, there was nothing that attached me to the story of the characters, and for that reason I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Next, I ended up picking up a Archie comic. I love the Betty and Veronica, so I saw it and I was just like, yeah, that looks fun. I want to read that. And it was great as always. Archie and the gang, they're just one of my faves. I'm really excited to be reading them again because it's just like complete nostalgia for me. If you guys enjoy comics, you might really enjoy picking this up. It's just like really colorful, classic shenanigans. I love it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing I finished in the month of April was The Complete Cheese Sweet Home Part 1 by Konami Cantata. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. This took me a minute to read because it's big. This is just so adorable. What I particularly really liked about this collection of comics with this cat is that it completely captured the personality of a cat. Like 100%. Everything that this cat does, I have seen my own cats do. I love cats, and I swear, like, I could just imagine what they're thinking and what they're saying sometimes to each other, and I'm just like, and this just totally captured that. It was so fun to read. I don't know, I just felt, I had all the feelings when I read this. It was super cute, and I really want to read the rest of them. I need the collection. There's a part 2 and a part 3, and I believe a part 4, or maybe a part 4 is coming out, but I need them all. I love this cat. I did give this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. The next thing that I read in April was Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty, and this was so good. It was everything that I wanted it to be. This is a book about 3 moms. They're all moms of kids that are about to be in kindergarten, and things just kind of happen. They really each have their own personal lives, things going on, and we just follow each of the moms as they deal with the different issues that they're dealing with. I don't want to spoil anything because this is such a good book to just pick up and like go into and not really know anything. It was so fascinating to be a part of each of these families' lives and just watch the trajectory of what happens and what occurs and how they all end up kind of coming together and intertwining. There is drama, there is a murder, there is crazy PTO moms, there is love interest, there is family dynamics, there's, you know, husband-wife dynamics, children and their parents. Overall, this was just a really well-crafted story. It was really fun listening to the audiobook because it's actually, the story is actually set in Australia, and the woman had an Australian accent, and that just like got me there. It was a really, really good audiobook. I highly recommend it. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. It was great. The next book that I read in the month of April was Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. This is a book about a girl and a guy. They meet when she goes to college. He's actually a little bit older, and they kind of meet in this awkward meet cute kind of way and end up exchanging numbers and kind of become like each other's friends through text messaging. They both have gone through some really hard things in their lives, so they kind of end up sharing that with each other and in turn kind of becoming one another's emergency contact. It's very cute. I was particularly really excited about this book. The cover is just so pretty, and it's like quoted by Rainbow Rowell and just sounds like a contemporary that would literally be everything I would want it to be. However, I was super disappointed in this book. I did not like this book at all, you guys. I didn't particularly care for either of the characters. I really came close to not finishing it, but I powered through because I really did want to see if it picked up, if the ending made it worth it, and I didn't feel like it did. I honestly can't even remember much of what happened in this book. Like, it felt really, really flat. The characters were, I didn't care about them. I didn't love them. There just wasn't trajectory. I don't exactly understand why it is. I just did not love this book. But I really did not love this book. It just wasn't there for me. And I'm so sad to say that because sometimes I feel like the books that I get most excited for end up being just my least favorite books. But this was not my favorite. I wish it was. I'm sad it wasn't. I gave this 1 out of 5 stars. Next in April, I actually read a collection of poetry that I've been meaning and wanting to read forever, and that is The Princess Saves Herself, and this one by Amanda Lovelace. I was really stoked on this book because it was getting compared to Milk and Honey, and it just had kind of the poetry style that I really enjoyed. And I think I have seen some of her work, and I thought it was pretty cool, and so I was just really like looking forward to just taking a day and like ripping into this. I don't know what exactly it was, however, I didn't love this one either, and I'm really sad that I didn't. There were some poems that were like funny to me. Like, and she was trying to be serious, and that's so harsh. But for some reason, a lot of these ones in this book felt really forced and just trying way too hard. There were some that completely took my breath away, like a handful. And I even have them tagged, that completely just made me, like, you could tell that this just came from the poet's like heart and like just flowed through them when they wrote it. I thought a lot of her poems when she was in love were just gorgeous. Like, those were just so well done, and they just felt free and light, and they just felt how poetry should feel, in my opinion. And I think for a lot of people, poetry is such an expression of feeling, and so it is hard, I think, to judge poetry. I really, really do. I can't say that this is bad. I can't say that this is wrong. You know, poetry is a form of art just like anything else. But I think especially just because it comes from people at such a vulnerable state, typically, that it's hard to say, you know, for me it didn't work. For someone else, it could have absolutely been just everything to them, and I'm so glad for that. However, for me, this wasn't my favorite. I was pretty let down. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars at the end. After reading 2 books that were not my favorite, and in my opinion, just pretty poor reads, I was a little discouraged. However, I ended up picking up a book that completely knocked me off my feet, and I am officially saying that this is my favorite book I have ever read, ever, up until this point in my life. I'm still like digesting it in a sense. I'm still trying to figure out what it is about this novel that completely felt like it was written for me. Do you ever read a book and it just feels like a worn-in sweater? Like the perfect cup of coffee, your mom giving you a hug, and you are literally just transported into that character, into that world. I mean, I haven't felt like that about a book in years, and there was just something about this story and the way it was written that I loved. Okay, I'll share with you what the book is and then I'll keep ranting, but I read The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James, and it's so pretty. This is actually the UK edition, which I didn't realize when I got it. I got it off of Amazon, and oh man, I'm having a hard time figuring out how to put into words just like what it felt like when I read this book. There was just something about this book that totally captured my heart. I could sit down and reread this again. In my opinion, in this piece of work, there was nothing wrong for me. I have no negative things to say about this book. The story flowed, the character was awesome, the character growth was fantastic to watch. The entire setting was just really, really cool. It was so good. So let me explain what it's about a little bit. This is about a girl who is in space, set in the future, and she is the only remaining survivor of this spaceship that is sent out from NASA to land on Earth 2. So her parents were actually set out by NASA to complete this mission. They ended up getting pregnant with her. They had her, raised her for a few years. I think she was 8 or 9, and then they actually died, and she ended up being completely alone on the spaceship, and she has been like communicating with NASA. She has this like therapist that she talks to every day, and she knows how to man everything on the spaceship, and she's so scared all the time, and she's young. She's like 16 or 18, and she takes care of it all, and she's by herself on this spaceship. Like, to be put in that mindset was so scary. Like, I was like, what in the world would I do if I was on a spaceship by myself for freaking 18 years? Like, what? This was just so unexpected. I recommend going into this book without reading reviews, without trying to figure out what it's about. Like, literally just like pick up this book and read it. Don't have any expectations. The less you know, the better, because this totally, it's like you read the blurb and you're like, oh, okay. But it's literally, there's so much more that goes into it that isn't talked about, and I think that's just that's the best. I don't think it's gonna be everyone's favorite book. I don't know why I love this so much. This feels like it's been my best friend for years. I feel like I've known this story my whole life. This is so special for me. I don't know I shouldn't keep talking because I've already talked about it enough, but man, this is why I love reading. I hope everyone has a book like this on their shelves. I don't even know. Where do you even go from here? Best book ever. I just loved it. Okay. I gave this a billion out of 5 stars. Okay, we're winding down, I promise. The second to last book that I read was Invisible Emmie by Terry Levinson. And this is a middle grade graphic novel about a young girl going to middle school who is just very shy, very quiet, very introverted. She basically just wants to be invisible. It was definitely set in middle school. Whew. That was a long time ago and I don't want to remember anything from middle school, that's for sure. I really loved the concept of the book because I was 100% that girl in middle school. I was very shy, very quiet, never wanted to be called on. I didn't want to draw attention to myself. So I was really excited to pick this up and the art style was really cool. It was fun to read. It kind of reminded me when I was a kid, I used to read these books called like Amelia's Notebook. And that's kind of what these looked like. It was kind of like diary entries. We follow this girl throughout like her first day back at middle school. We also follow a girl who is extremely popular, who has no issues being like the center of attention. Everything good happens to her. Her life just seems like a piece of cake. One really cool thing about this book that I will say is the ending was really surprising. The ending was a little bit of a twist and that was kind of fun to read in a middle grade novel. And the artwork was really cool. Those were two really positive aspects of this book. What I didn't love is some of the stereotypes that happened. There were some things, especially in the beginning of the book, that stereotyped like nerds and smart people, but then it also talked about a person with like disabilities in kind of a teasing tone. I felt really weird reading that. I didn't think it was necessary. It portrayed a picture of the disabled kid's face and they had like pimples and they were bad at math, like that was their disability. It did it in a way from the main character that kind of like made fun of it, and I just didn't think that was necessary. It's just not something I would want my middle schooler to read about. I don't think disabilities are anything to like tease or joke about. And I don't know if she was trying to bring awareness to them or something, but it just didn't sit right with me. It was a weird one for me. It wasn't my favorite. I did enjoy reading it because it was a quick graphic novel read. The artwork was really pretty, but it definitely wasn't my favorite. I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars. The very last book that I read in the month of April was a manga, and that was volume 1 of Dreamin Sun by Ichigo Takano. This was so good, and I'm so happy because the author of this manga is the author of Orange, and you guys know how much I love Orange. So I was very, very excited to pick this up in my book outlet haul. I have a video for that. I'll link it below if you want to check it out. It was super cheap and it just totally made my day that I got to get it at a really reasonable price. Basically, we follow our main character who feels neglected at home. She ends up running away and basically kind of like bunking it in this apartment with these 3 guys, and they're all just so funny. She's super cute. She has a crush, like of course there's love interest, and like it's the same loving, silly, naive, goofy, sweet characters that Orange had. That same, just everything that just makes you kind of just like, okay, this is ridiculous, but I love them. It's like cuteness overload. I can't get enough of it. I really liked this story and I really liked the 3 guys. There's one character that I just love. He like totally cracks me up and I just love him. I can't wait to read more about him. I thoroughly enjoyed this and I cannot wait to pick up volume 2. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. Alright you guys, well that is all of the books that I read in the month of April. I definitely had a great reading month. I can't believe I read 12 books, was it? I don't even know. I'm super excited to see what May brings. I have some really cool books that I'm really looking forward to reading, and I can't wait to share that with you guys later on. If you've read any of these books, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Let's talk about them. I would love to chat about books with you guys. Well, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be kind to someone today, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!